Okay.
Welcome, welcome. I am Nichi Hirsch-Keekley, founder of My Healthy Beginning, the Long Lake Natural Health Center. And outside of our moderator and helper, Elaine, in the background today, I am with Sarah. I should have said this before. Is it Damlo or Damlo?
Damlo.
Damlo, okay.
Yeah.
So Sarah has been our homeopath for the last couple of years, right?
Yeah.
About 2 years, I would say.
About 2 years.
And she works and interned with, is the word that comes to me, Kate Birch, who, you know, if we look at the 16-year span that my family's been using homeopathy, Kate was there to hold our hand from the very beginning. And I read all of her books, and she passed me off to, I think, every one of her interns at some point or another. And then we just have stuck for the last couple of years with Sarah.
Yeah.
And well, so first of all, welcome. Thanks for being willing to come on today. And what I realize is really important to me is probably really important to a lot of people, which is, you know, taking responsibility for our own health, taking our health into our own hands. And ultimately, at the end of the day, what does that look like? What does that responsibility look like? What can I actually do? And there are several modalities out there that people aren't familiar with, don't even know exist, I assert.
Right.
And doing what I do, I get to dabble and play. And I have spent the, you know, I don't know, my daughter and I were, am I 44 or 43? There's a question mark in there because I'm not sure. We were talking about this, like I have spent now more than half of my life in the natural healthcare industry, which I don't even feel old enough to have children, let alone say something like that. So I feel incredibly grateful and blessed and frankly just lucky at the end of the day that I get to do what I do for a living, and that I get to have these amazing relationships, both as a business interest, but also to support my health and the health of my family. And also just as a resource and referral giver. I love to make those connections for families who are, you know, seeking out care like this. So Elaine, do you just want to like raise a hand or something if there is a question or a comment that comes up that's appropriate at the time, because I can't see that screen?
Yeah, we're not actually streaming right now, so I'm just trying to figure out what's going on with that.
Okay, then we'll just launch straight ahead and you do what you're doing there in the background, okay? So as a little background, Sarah, it would be interesting to share, because I'm not sure that I even know how you came to homeopathy and to being a homeopath. I mean, I know we had you in the office. I just don't know if we ever asked that question of you.
Sure. Yeah, so it started when I was pregnant with my firstborn in 2010. I started looking into, I had a lot of allergies, seasonal allergies and such, and I didn't want to keep taking, you know, allergy shots or the over-the-counter medication. And so I worked at a co-op at the time, and I was asking in the wellness department, and I kind of came across homeopathy. And so just kind of started using it occasionally then, and then going through the birth, realizing, looking back, that, oh, there could have been a lot of remedies that could have helped me, because I had a very long labor and, you know, days worth and such. So looking back, thinking, oh, there could have been a lot of remedies. So then I started getting more into it. And then when I was at the co-op, started organizing, I was the classroom educator or the coordinator. So working with community members who came to give talks on homeopathy. So I was learning more about it and found out there is a school right here in Minnesota, in St. Louis Park, that's been around for about 22 years now, teaching homeopaths. So I thought, oh, wow, I can learn even more about it. So I began that path, learning more. Little did I realize it was a 4-year program that, you know, you become a homeopath and you take on clients. And it's a great program there where they do 2 years of more philosophical book work, and then 2 years of student clinic. So there's a lot of options for people to go and see homeopaths there that are students, and also community clinic. And then that just kind of led my path. And then I finished school in 2017 and have been working as a practitioner ever since.
What's your favorite part? What do you love to serve? What is that difference?
Well,
I know the difference that you get to make every day, but
yeah, you know, I love that it is variable. You know, no day looks the same. I mean, you can still have the same structure of, I'm going to be talking with people today or sending out remedies, or, you know, there's a lot of business side to it too
Right.
that you have to learn. But I like just communicating with people. I really like being a listener. So the thing about homeopathy is that it looks kind of like a therapy appointment sometimes. You come in, you talk about anything that maybe came up in childhood, maybe your dreams. You have your physical symptoms, but also the mental and emotional component of it.
Mm-hmm.
And so I get to be a great listener and hear all that. And I don't have to think about advice to give. I don't have to think about you know, how to change maybe a trajectory that you're on. All I'm doing is listening. The non-prejudice observer is what we call it. And then after all that listening and getting to know you, and you feel relief by saying some of these things that you may never have said to
Totally a therapy session.
or right, even
Right.
in therapy. And then I get the benefit of going through my books and finding materia medica that fits, and finding the unique remedy that fits you. So it's like therapy plus remedy. So that's really the part I like about it.
Therapy plus remedy. Yes.
Yeah.
I would say that's the case. My favorite is what's happened often over the course. So our kids are, the youngest is 4, and then Annie, who's hovering close by, is 12, and then our oldest is 16. Or how many times I have reached out because of one of the kids, and in turn, I'm the one who gets the remedy.
That is very true.
It's like, oh, really? Oh, so I'm okay. So let's start with mom and go from there.
Yes.
But it's like, it's right every time. That is so what I love. I also love that kind of, I don't know if it's instant gratification so much as it is from a mom's perspective. I can feel it in my own body when it's a remedy for me, but I can see the shift. I mean, often within minutes, if not hours, or hours, if not minutes, I should say, of whether that was the right remedy, right? In the moment. You know, kind of remedies and fevers are one of my favorite things to watch, because you just see that snap out of, say, lethargy in a wee one to a little one crawling around happily drooling or running around with a fever, and you're looking for that energy, right? You're looking for that vitality in that little body. Yeah. Well, let's move on kind of to a list of questions. And then if Elaine does get us to stream and we have comments, that way she will pop in with those. But how does homeopathy work in layman's terms? A book that I often refer to moms in our clinic is The Impossible Cure by Amy Lansky. I loved that book, and I like it. It just totally captured my heart. I loved what she was up against as a mom. I loved the kind of contact and connection she just got with this world of certainty for herself and her son, right? I think it was her son that she was working with. And so just, keeping it in layman's terms, how does what is homeopathy and how does homeopathy work?
So you look at the word homeopathy, it means similar. So like treats like. That's the whole foundation of homeopathy. So I'm glad that we're talking right now, because we're just finishing up celebrating World Homeopathy Awareness Week, which started on April 10th, and which was Samuel Hahnemann's birthday. He was the founder, so to speak, of homeopathy in Germany. He was born 1755. So homeopathy has been around for over 200 years. You know, it's a medicine that's really gone through a lot of generations with us. But the whole theory of it rests on like treats like. And so he came about this by, at the time, the cinchona bark or quinine was used a lot for treating fevers, like of malarial fever. And he thought, well, there's actually a lot of other remedies, herbal remedies or other sources out there that are more bitter, because people thought it was the bitterness of this bark that was treating the fever. But he thought, well, there's actually a lot more bitter substances out there. Why is this one working so well for this symptom? So he started taking it as a healthy individual. He didn't have a fever or any symptoms at the time. He started taking doses of it, of the bark, and he noticed he started getting fevers and symptoms that were very similar to what it's treating. And so that's how he came up with the thought, oh, what it can produce in a healthy person, it can treat in an ill person who has those similar symptoms. So then he went on through a process of, well, how much of the substance do I need? And he found you just really need a very small amount. So homeopathy goes through a process of dilution and succussion. So every time it's diluted, it's succussed or pounded or energetically raised. And then it goes in different potencies. So like the ones that you'll find in the store are usually a 6C, so that means centesimal potency in the hundreds. So by the time you're working up to 6, 12, 30C, it's diluted beyond any recognition of a physical substance in there, but it's highly energetic. And we work with what some are now starting to refer to as nanoparticles.
Mm-hmm.
So, but that all comes from the concept of like treating like.
Mm-hmm.
And so a good example of that, just in regular life, you know, perhaps you're feeling really down and sad. Well, what do? You listen to some sad music, and that kind of changes your environment or changes your outlook on things. You're not necessarily looking to listen to like techno disco type music at that moment, right? You want something that matches the state you're in. Mm-hmm. Or you know, for those of you who have gone out the night before and then not feeling so good in the morning and maybe need a Bloody Mary with some vodka in it, you know, the hair of the dog, that's also like treating like,
sure,
so to speak. So so we have substances that are made from all kinds of things that will do that. For example, we have the remedy coffea, made from coffee. That helps if you have that overactive mind, trouble multitasking, can't fall asleep. If you have those symptoms, you can take a remedy made from coffea, and then it'll help ease what you're going through.
So that's really funny. Just like you just read my mind, because I, having a lot of little ones in our practice, and just, you know, mom brains, like sometimes I just take off my practitioner hat and as a mom, right? You know, these colicky babies or these fussy babies, or I'll say, I can't remember, it was like a blend for colicky babies anyway. And they were like, oh, it was so great. It works so great. But then when they start reading the label, they're like, why am I giving my baby something that has coffee in it? And I was like, well, did it work? You know, like, did it work? It worked, right? And not as an experiment, but as there's just that missing, that understanding, is what's missing for those moms in the background. So the 30C, that's the kind of the most commonly publicly available. We see that. Yeah, those.
Yeah.
Okay.
So see, these blue boron vials are what you'll find in most retail shops,
right? The
health food stores and stuff. And then they only go up to 30C when you buy them like that. But when you're working with a practitioner, and then you're starting to get more into the mental and emotional components, or if you have a really strong an acute illness, you know, a strong fever or strong symptoms, then you start going up into a 200C or a 1M potency, and that's what you would get working with a practitioner.
Okay, so I just even learned something.
Yeah.
That's good. That's good. Yeah. I like that. So why, I was going to actually ask you, why do most people seek out homeopathy? But I might just think back and refer to, I think I would, you know, Kate would have to look, but I think we were in the wee months of Sunny, and I think it was like a fungal rash with her, if I can think back, because we started a couple of things that we started muscle testing at that time. And our kids were already using a chiropractor. We were already eating better than the average family, but at that point hadn't eliminated gluten or dairy. But we were sourcing our food farm direct already at that point. And I remember thinking, this is something I've been interested in. I can't remember like what the hook was, you know, which I'm so curious to kind of like ruminate on. But I just remember it feeling like, okay, that's just like, I feel better. I feel better knowing that I just know in my heart of hearts, this just resonated so deeply, energetically, 100%, emotionally for sure. And then we got to see this physical manifestation kind of quiet, and then who her little constitution was being, she got to just be her, you know, be like, oh, there you are, you know? Yeah. And so it just became a really easy thing for us to come back to again and again. And every time we've come up against any childhood illness or anything emotional that we're dealing with. So like plugging each of the kids in a few times a year for sure for a solid visit outside of random kind of acute care moments has been literally a part of their healthcare paradigm.
Definitely.
Right.
Yeah.
People ask me like, well, what do you guys do? Well, we use chiropractic, and we have 2 different chiropractors based on our needs. And doesn't mean we're all going to 2 different chiropractors at one time. It's just that's, you know, it's like there's sources to pull from. And we utilize homeopathy, obviously nutrition response testing, nutrition, movement, activity, you know, play. It's like, that is our household healthcare system, right? And it works for us. And I have found by putting these things in with consistency, I do think consistency really seems to be key. You know, if you add up 16 plus 12 plus 4, like we're at 30 some years, right, of like raising children. And we've had, you know, 1 ER visit, and we've had 1 urgent care visit, and we've had 2 doses of antibiotics. And that is just like incredible in this day and age with how quickly things like that are dosed out. So how and why do most people seek out homeopathy? You know, are they people who already know a little bit? Were they just referred by somebody? Or I'm curious what your experience is.
Yeah, I mean, I really like your point about you've only had to go into conventional medicine a few times. Homeopathy is really integrative, and you can, you know, working with nutrition and chiropractic and craniosacral and all that. And then a big thing is that there's so much you can do from home. I mean, you can buy these vials, you can get them sent to you through the mail. There's kits that you can get too, so you have in a kit that's just right there when you need it, you know. So if you have that 12 midnight fever, you don't have to rush out to the ER urgent care. And so homeopathy is the people's medicine. It's something you can do at home and really be empowered, knowing that you have your acute care book, like the one you showed me, you know, and you have some remedies, and then you do what you can at home, and you really can see a change. Yes, that one.
That's the one.
Yeah. And you really can see a change in an acute condition, whether it's a spiked fever or something. But so those are the people who really come to us, people who have maybe tried some other routes, you know, maybe have had antibiotics for a few years and the same symptoms keep coming back, or, you know, maybe people who are into energetic medicine and know that there's a vibe happening around us. You know, we are vital beings. We are more than just our mechanics and our physical touch. You know, there's an energy field around us. I mean, why do you think they're telling us to stay 6 feet away from each other right now? Because we have this energy field around us. Right. So people who are already into that, or people who are totally new to it, just through word of mouth. They've tried the conventional route. It's not working. There are people who come to us as kind of like, okay, I tried everything, I'll try the homeopathy now, kind of thing. And then they realize it's a whole system, a holistic way of looking at your health. You know, we look at your physical symptoms, but we also ask you about, well, what was happening at that time? Did you just witness a car accident and now suddenly you're having these symptoms? Or is it grief related? Is it from a loss of a job? I mean, why are these symptoms coming up? And so we look at the whole picture of it.
And do you, I think I know the answer to this question, but it just popped into my head. So I'm trying to put this into words. So say I'm experiencing a rash, just keeps coming to mind. Okay, so say I'm experiencing a rash and I'm reaching out for homeopathy to support me in this rash. Am I looking for an almost immediate or soonly kind of alleviation of that rash or symptom? Or like, what are you looking for as the practitioner?
So there's multi-factors to that. You know, how long have you had the rash? Is it something that came on overnight, maybe related to something that you ate? And so then we can look at, well, what's the trajectory? Do we think it's going to continue on for so long? Or, I mean, we look at the depth and the pace of it. How how severe is the rash? How long have you had it? What else have you been using for it? If it's a rash that you've had since childhood, one visit's not necessarily going to take it away, right? But we're peeling the layers, so to speak, like an onion. But that also helps point us to the right remedy. Different remedies have different affinities and different actions. So there's some remedies like silica, which is kind of long, slow, drawn out, and that helps point us to using it in a case where maybe it's a cough that's really long and drawn out and has been lasting for a while and not really kind of resolving. Whereas something that's more acute and fast and present, then you use remedies like belladonna or apis, which are really fast and hot and happening right now. You want to match the path and the pace of the illness to the appropriate remedy. Yeah.
Yes. Okay. Because I know in the moment what I'm looking for as a mom is I just want, whether it's on me, it's like I just want to feel better. So I'm just looking for a shift, and that's all I need to know that it's moving in the right direction. And then I would say in regards to I've got like a sidekick eating her lunch here. Do you want to be a part of the conversation? Do you want to be a part of the conversation? Why? Do you want to listen in?
Yeah.
Okay. I'll take my earbuds out. When it's in regards to the kids, it's a different story because I want to see it's faster. I want it to be faster, right? Because I want to see a decrease in their discomfort. I want to see an increase in their vitality and how empowered they feel physically and emotionally. And that is one of the reasons I love homeopathy, is because you can see that comfort come around pretty quickly. You can see just enough of that kind of silver lining pop through, right? The clouds, it makes a big difference there. Now, would you use a homeopath instead of like a general practitioner?
Yeah, so there are people who are specifically trained for homeopathy to know these things, to know how to ask those questions. I mean, we ask questions that you might think, oh, I didn't think I was supposed to think of that. You know, when let's say a mom's calling me and saying that her child has a cough and a fever, what remedy should I use? Well, I want to go into depth. I want to know the details of that. How long has the fever been going on? When did it start? Did it start in the morning? Did it start in the night? How long has the cough been going on? Is the cough coming from your throat? Is it coming from deep in the chest? Does it sound dry or wet? And so homeopaths have been trained to know to ask those questions. Like it's not, I mean, there's a lot you can do at home, but right, you don't have to know everything like, oh, was this a really long cough that took a couple of days to develop? So that means I have to find that kind of remedy. You might not know that kind of stuff, or it might not be printed in a book. That's why you would reach out to a practitioner. And then we'll ask you, you know, what's the color of the sputum? You know, is it tickling when you talk? Is it better when you're inside, better laying down? Does it feel worse from hot drinks, cold drinks? And then you start to recognize, oh, these are the types of things that I should be paying attention to. Yeah.
And do people use both, like a general practitioner and a homeopath? You know, is there like a would you go to your general practitioner or pediatrician, or, you know,
right. So we, you know, we're not doctors. We don't prescribe. We don't, there's a lot of language that we don't use.
Yeah.
Minnesota has great health freedom rules and laws, and that you as a client, you as a person in Minnesota are free to seek out any type of treatment you want with homeopathy, herbalism, acupuncture, chiropractic. We are really fortunate in this state to have those options.
Such a blessing.
So we're not taking the place of a pediatrician, you know, but then you start to think about, well, why am I going into that pediatrician? What is the purpose for these visits? And then can we do a lot of things at home through nutrition, through homeopathy, through, you know, lifestyle choices. So what I really would like to see is a lot of this becoming more integrated. If homeopathy could be used in a clinical setting like that, like in hospitals and stuff, especially right now in our current epidemic, homeopathy has got great results. for pandemics and outbreaks. So,
well, I think partly because it does such a great job at handling that emotional and energetic side, which I think is frankly more of the reason why we end up getting sick to begin with, is like all the angst.
And I always bring an illness back to what was happening. Why did that illness start? What was my misattunement that allowed me to be susceptible to whatever is going around?
Right. Yeah, that's agreed. Now, my experience is that homeopathy is not covered by insurance, but we pay out of pocket for everything anyway. So I don't know that that's even, I guess I don't even know the answer to that question. I would think
not really covered. I mean, sometimes you can use a health savings account, because that's like basically your own money anyway, but so homeopathy is very affordable. I mean, these vials are generally $8 to $10, or when you work with a practitioner, maybe $10 to $12 with the higher potencies being sent to you. But they last forever. You only use maybe 3 to 4 little pellets at a time. So a vial this size could last you years. And then, the out-of-pocket expense, when you first see a practitioner, we're really fortunate in the Twin Cities in Minnesota to have a lot of practitioners around.
We do,
So there's a lot to choose from, and so the cost is kind of varies, you know, whether you're seeing someone for an acute care, or if you want to come in for a longer constitutional care, it could be maybe $200 to $300 for that initial appointment. But that is a 3-hour appointment, 2 to 3 hour appointment where you just sit down, like we said, kind of like therapy, and then the practitioner will go home and use our materia medica, use our reference books, look up how your symptoms relate uniquely to you, and then match the remedies. So we're doing a lot on the back end, and then that's just a one-time fee that you pay that first appointment, and then have follow-ups generally every 4 to 6 weeks at the beginning for the first few months. But it's totally affordable. When you're looking at costs of an ER visit being thousands of dollars, or a ride in an ambulance being thousands of dollars, or cancer treatments being hundreds of thousands of dollars, prescriptions being $700 a month, I mean, it's very, very affordable. Homeopathy is very affordable.
It is, and it's funny. I've had staff members at the office who, I'll come out of, let's take Odin, for example, kind of dealing with care and multiple phone calls over a, say, I don't know, 3 or 4 week time frame or something. And I'll walk out and I'll be like, I cannot believe it. Like, I just paid them, and I paid, it was $110 invoice, and that was, 4 phone calls for Odin, and inside of that, Annie got sick, and we were 2 phone calls for her, and I needed something for me, and you're like, where, like, what, how, that is like, it's just not even, it's so inexpensive in the grand scheme of things. It is, I think part of the problem, and, we see this too, is that people are just not, it's a mindset thing. They're not prepared for and set up for investing in their health, like up front. That's just not the way we've been groomed. We've been groomed that like someone is going to come up behind you and like, pay a little bit, but like in the end, you're paying through the nose for care that's, emergent and urgent care. That's like one conversation, but I assert so many people aren't getting the care that they want, but they don't know like how to, what's the word I'm looking for? Like what, they just don't know, like it's an add-on, right? Like they just don't know, here are modalities that I can plug in to utilize, and
the more you work with a practitioner, the less you need to have some of those outside, maybe you could reduce the amount of pharmaceuticals that you're on, or
absolutely,
you won't have to go in for those checkups that you have 4 or 5 times a year. So as you become more balanced and vital within yourself, you're more in alignment, you won't have the need, you'll be less susceptible to the things that are going around. You won't get that yearly bronchitis or whatever. So
Yeah, I love that.
yeah.
One of our staffers in the office had this question. So her question was, how do remedies support our, this requires me to read my own writing. What does that say? Oh, how do remedies support our emotional and spiritual state in conjunction with our physical?
Sure. Well, we're all connected, and kind of like how we referenced before, that maybe your fever came across, like suddenly you saw something that was really frightening and it put you in a state of shock, and now suddenly you're having physical symptoms. So
There was like a suppression then of your immune system.
Yeah. So
Okay.
we're all connected. So once you start, like if you had an example like that, that's part of how our mental, emotional, physical, spiritual, we're all together in a being. And so I think it's really unfortunate in a way, the way that medicine is gone, that you go to a different doctor for your nose, you go to a different doctor for your heart, you go to a different doctor for your gut, for your muscles, like all that. And it's all connected. I mean, not to say that we shouldn't specialize and know a lot about those areas, but have it totally separated out and not think about, well, maybe my heart hurts because I had this thing happen to me when I was 10 years old and I've still been carrying it for the past 30 years, right? And so that's why homeopathy is so beautiful, because we look at all of that and we take all that into consideration. We ask you, what was your childhood like? We ask you, what is life like at home right now? We ask you, how is your job for you? We ask you, what were your dreams? Is there any thing that comes up in your dreams that might be a theme? Like, what are some of the thoughts and feelings? Not necessarily the details of the dream, but what are some of the emotional components of it? You know, I keep having fearful dreams, or I keep having flying dreams, or stuff like that. So, I mean, we are a totally integrated, totally holistic beings. And I think that's where homeopathy can come into play to address all that.
I think that's a really solid answer to that question. We have a couple of questions that have popped up here. So how can I prepare my family if for some reason we get sick with COVID? We are already eating well and exercising and sleeping, just to bring peace of mind and have what we need on hand and converse through what might come or not. That's
right.
Part one. Yeah.
Okay, we'll address that part one. Well, so this kind of plays off our last question too. So what's your level of nervousness or fear about it? If you're in a really fearful state, you might be more susceptible. I'm not hearing that energy right now from that question, but you know, it's there a little bit. And when we're in the news, and of course it's happening worldwide, so how can we not be aware of it? But so, you know, addressing the emotional component of it. But then there's also remedies that you can use prophylaxically, which means preventatively or ahead of time. So a lot of homeopaths nationwide and worldwide are coming up with what they call the genus epidemicus, which means a remedy that fits the whole symptom picture. For example, when there was an outbreak of scarlet fever in Hahnemann's time in Germany in the 1800s, he found that a lot of the people needed the same remedy, belladonna. And so they used that, and then the outbreak of it reduced, the contagion of it reduced, and a lot of people who had the symptoms recovered. Now, something like COVID, which is worldwide, is kind of getting a little more tricky to find that genus epidemicus, because life in the United States is a lot different than life in Germany, a lot different than life in Iran, a lot different than life in China, right? So they're kind of coming up with different ones in the different countries.
So more geographic.
Right.
Yeah.
So, you know, there's an option of reaching out to a homeopath and asking, what can I do ahead of time to prepare my system? And then again, matching remedies, like one remedy called arsenicum, which has been kind of touted as a bit of a prophylactic remedy, has a lot of the physical symptoms, the chest, the heat, the fever, but it also covers anxiety about health. So there's a remedy you could talk with the practitioner about using. But then also, I work with Free and Healthy Children International, and we are a nonprofit that's all about education, access, and awareness of homeoprophylaxis, which means homeopathy prophylaxically. And we use different remedies to address different infectious diseases that way. So you could go to the Free and Healthy Children website, and there are many supervisors nationwide. There's about 70 to 80 of us right now who are working together to address the current outbreak. So you could either contact me directly, I'm an HP supervisor, or you could go to the website.
Is that also for, say, people who decide that they don't want to do like maybe they don't want to do any vaccinations for their children, or they want to pick and choose their vaccinations? So
Right.
that is also, Free and Healthy Children is also the HP program, right?
Yeah, there we have a childhood homeoprophylaxis program that addresses childhood infectious disease. You know, we've co-evolved with a lot of these germs and bacteria and viruses, and they have developmental benefits for us. And so if you can go through a program which introduces those that disease to you in an energetic form, so it's kind of like training your immune system. We call it immune system education. If you can go through that in a non-toxic way and then get the benefit of the disease without actually getting the disease, then you are like advanced and moving along and really fulfilling some of that susceptibility too. So yeah, you can go to Free and Healthy Children and learn a lot more about homeoprophylaxis.
Okay. Now there's the second part of her question, brief, and you've already covered it. She's saying who to call or where to go to get support outside of her family, for her family. So that is going to the Free and Healthy Children.
Right, you can go to that website, freeandhealthychildren.org is the website, and maybe we can, share some links at the end. But then,
Sure.
Like I said, there are a lot of homeopaths in the Twin Cities area because we have our school here. And so if you go to Northwestern Academy of Homeopathy, I believe they have a practitioner resource list, and there'll be a name of whether you do community clinic or work with another practitioner in Minnesota or in the states around here.
So what do you mean community clinic? What do you mean by that? Do you just mean a local clinic?
There's also an option. So since the school has 2 years of student clinic teaching where you, so from the student side, we sit together in a group and we have a mentor with us. And then we're all taking the case as somebody comes in so that you could be a participant to come in. It's more affordable.
Yeah.
It's only, I think, about maybe $80 for an intake.
That's
and
amazing.
Then the remedy is included. You have to sit in a group with maybe 3 or 4 people. Only one person is asking you the questions. You're only connecting with one person.
Yeah, but the hive mind.
Right, yeah. And you get the benefit of working with the teachers who've been instructors there for decades, right?
Right.
So there's that, there's student clinic, but then there's also community clinic. Some of the practitioners who have graduated from the school are offering more lower cost intakes. Like you could work with them at a reduced rate for a few months, depending on circumstances.
Yeah. Okay. So a lot, when you said community, I immediately thought of like community acupuncture, or chilling out, lazy boys, right? But it's amazing too, right?
Very
you just,
similar.
you get far more opportunity to get it's a great way to have that baby step introduction to, is this something I'm going to enjoy, or I'm going to try it on before I'm going to use it with my kids, whatever the case may be. Yeah. I mean, I've yet to hear of anybody who didn't have a positive experience with homeopathy in one way or another. And often it's not even what you think it will look like, I think, which is
it's never
really the most powerful.
You can never know where it's going to go. That's why I like to be that listener. Like I said at the beginning, I'm never thinking, oh, this person's going to say that, or if I have that thought, they always take me in a different direction, or I can't be attached to any outcome either, so yeah.
Well, I have to say, one of the things that I appreciate most about about developing long-term relationships with practitioners is, you know, like they become our people. That's how it was. Like as Kate started to get busier and busier and busier, and I needed something now, I knew that she was training really great people in her practice, you know, so I knew I could trust you guys just by way of like that you were working with her, and that was a hi again. That was just such a feel good for me. It was just like an extension of, I already had that comfort. I already had that relationship built up. It's a beautiful thing for me. And then, you know, for our girls being old enough now to just set up an appointment and then just let them know like, hey, call Sarah on Friday at 12:30. And they do that, or to have them come to me and say, can I have a call with Dr. Sarah? You know, it's what they call you. And so I love and appreciate that. And I'm particularly, you know, interested like on the nosode end of, you know, my husband who hasn't dove into homeopathy, but was really excited about trying the nosodes. It was a fun way to finally have him in the circle of like, he has seen the work on our family. He has seen, but he's always like, no, you guys first, like, I'll just keep working. Like I'll work, you guys handle yourselves and do what you need to do. So we were excited about him having that experience as well. One more question from the girls at the office. So and it's pretty specific, but their question was like, is homeopathy better for like proactive long-term care or preventive long-term care even, or more for acute care? I say both, but you know.
I would say both too. Yeah. It depends on where you're at when you're coming to it. I mean, a lot of people who come in for acute care kind of turn to what we call constitutional care. That means your whole overall being.
Yes.
But if you can get some good constitutional care set up and you're in the flow of it, you've been doing that for a few years, you're a lot less susceptible to getting those seasonal allergies, to needing support for a fever. You're a lot less susceptible to anything that's going around. So you're just more vital and more robust, so to speak, to face whatever the day might bring. It's not, you know, it's not going to change your personality. It's not going to totally prevent you from ever getting sick. We don't want that. You know, you need to exercise your immune system, and you need that reinforcement. And, you know, to have a fever is a good thing. And to have acute disease is kind of like a vent or a discharge to prevent chronic illness later on in life. But yeah, I guess the answer is both. Like you can use it both ways.
And I love we've had a really empowering experience using homeopathy for all kinds of things. Everything we've had scarlet fever, chicken pox, mono, roseola, you know, your kind of common childhood things. What are we doing? Cute. And having had a very empowering experience. We've had, you know, back when, I don't remember what year this was, 2000, what year were you born? 7, 8, 9, 2009? Is that when H1N1?
Yep.
You're right. Is that when it was? You know, we hadn't gone into the doctor for it, but, you know, our oldest at the time was, I think, just 7. And she was home from school for 2 weeks. She was in bed for 10 days. I didn't have a panic about it. She was sick. She had definitely never been quite so sick. She had a high fever. She had some hallucinating going on, but I felt 150% supported and handled utilizing homeopathy. And I think, if I remember right, I think we went through 6 or 7 different remedies in that, you know, watching her illness come out in its fullest expression at the time. And it was a fascinating process, absolutely incredible experience, knowing we were just getting the care we needed in our own home, and that comfort is incredible.
Yeah, you know, we're not going to take the place of and I mean, everybody's free to choose what they want to do, but there are a lot of times, like say you fall out of the tree and you break your arm, well, keep taking arnica on your way to the hospital or whatever, you know. It can be very complementary and very integrative. And so, and plus, like you were saying that, so somebody is sick, you know, they're having symptoms, they're down for a few days. but they're going through the process, the cycle of disease, you know, the beginning, the chills, the fever, and then you're having the discharge and resolution. So there's different remedies that will take you through that cycle. And so, you know, sometimes you can get a remedy and hit it right away, and then the illness goes away.
Right.
Literally in a matter of hours. But
that's my arsenicum album.
Yep.
It's like, I got to hold that one near and dear.
Yes, that is a good one. And that kind of matches the pace of it too. But there's other times that you're going to go through the cycle of it, and then actually you come out a little bit stronger after doing that. And you see like, oh, I'm at a different developmental stage. I'm at a more enlightened, so to speak, or, you know, there's benefits.
Yes, I would say that's accurate. It's a lighter state and a more aware state.
Yeah.
Which I think we can all agree when we watch our children go, particularly when they're little, you know, when they're so clearly moving through those developmental states of you know, sitting before crawling before standing, you know, not in that order necessarily, but they are moving along, and then you see this sort of stall out, and you see this illness state, and you see them progress through it fully, and on the other end of it you see all of this progression. It's really something as an adult to feel like, wow, I just learned how to sit up, I just learned how to crawl, like you can feel yourself moving through some of that. And I don't know that I held that much awareness, you know, in my early to mid 20s when we started using homeopathy, as much as I can sense it and feel it now. You know, so much so that it's really fun to be like pondering, like I wonder, and I'm looking it up, and I'm looking online, and I'm like thinking, all right, it's one of these two, I think it's this one, you know, and then I reach out to you, and after our conversation you say, well, I think this one. Yes. You know, it's really fun. But I also am not, it's not like, you know, cocky is the word comes to mind, because I mean, I rely heavily on my resources. I rely heavily on, I can't handle all things. Like I need that
resources, right?
Yes,
know,
I know.
I'm
at the end of the day,
I'm looking in my books, and it's an open book profession. You know, it's not like I have to know everything, or you know, have every answer. I mean, after you start working with some remedies for a while, you get to recognize, oh, this is that pattern and stuff. But we're constantly referring to our books, and we're constantly having conversations with other homeopaths. And right now during this outbreak, it's been amazing to see homeopaths come together and really sharing cases or insights or remedies. And so yeah, we're constantly learning, right?
Elaine, so it looks like we weren't streaming live for a little while. Now it looks like we're back to streaming it. And Elaine was sharing some of the links that you had shared with us by email that were so great. Is there, you know, one or two of them that are your favorites, and why? If we're like, I don't have time to look at all these, which one would you steer somebody to first?
Well, there's a great article written by the naturopath, Dr. Lisa Semet. I think I'm pronouncing that right. Just about how homeopathy has been so well used during outbreaks, and the different rates of mortality versus, you know, conventional versus homeopathic. So that's a really simple, easy to read article. Also, there's a movie called Magic Pills. It's available to stream online right now. It's $4.99, and then you get it for about 4 or 5 days. And it's a really fun one to watch. It talks about how homeopathy is used around the world. She travels to India, Cuba, Switzerland, Canada, all these different places to show what homeopathy is like. And it's fun for me as a practitioner to watch, but it's also very enlightening and easy to watch as a family member. So
I know, I was like, ooh, family movie night. In which case I would get an eye roll if it's a documentary, but I think I got a thumbs up that you just said yes.
Maybe.
Oh my goodness. Okay, I think that's all I have for now, but I actually see that maybe given a few weeks or so, maybe we should reconnect and talk actually about vaccines and homeoprophylaxis in regards to that, and that could be a great conversation and topic of education for many, and a re-education, a reminder, really.
You know, as a homeopathic practitioner, it's never my role to say, yes, do this, or no, don't do that. I'm just another resource that a family can use to make the decision, because ultimately all these decisions are in your hands, right? You know, any healthcare choice you make is up to you. And I think that's something that we all need to stand firm in and realize that anything that I choose to do for my family is in my hands.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's often a question we get at the office too. And the thing that leaves me feeling the most empowered, I believe, is the thing that leaves the families we work with most empowered, which is to say, you know, really every decision you are making for your family is the right decision for your family's health. And that is where you stand. And that is where you and your family need to be supported. And it might not look like the next family, right? But that's like such the incredible opportunity we have in this amazing state, is to be so grateful for that freedom.
Right, yeah.
That we have that.
Going.
All right, dear. So I'm going to sign off. Thanks so much for joining us. I really appreciate it. It is like, I love how much I keep learning. You know, it just is mind blowing to me still at this state.
That's why I'm still in it, because I keep learning every day.
Yeah, it's amazing. All right, dear. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
Soon.
Bye,
Bye-bye.
Annie.
Bye.
See you next time.
Bye-bye.
Bye.